The CCA workbench is
Yes,
where
sir.
a lot of good stuff goes down, whether
Right.
it's rigs and techniques like we're getting ready to do, or new products, which
Right.
we'll have later in the show. This is your job.
Well, we're talking about swordfish, and you know, a swordfish is a billfish, but he's got, instead of just a spear like a marlin or the white marlin or even a sailfish, he's got a sword, and it's flat and sharp on both sides, and he uses it for a weapon. You know, every once in a while, blue marlin might whack something or spear something, but he doesn't do that all the time. Most of the time, he grabs stuff with his mouth. Swordfish uses that bill. It's a weapon. It's the only fish that I've ever had attack the boat. I mean, literally attack the boat. In Venezuela, we had one on, about 200 pounds. We had him up to the surface in 5 minutes, and he came from 50 feet away and came swimming at the boat, whacking the boat as he was going down the side, turned around, went 50 feet out, came back down the side of the boat. I was waiting with a gaff that time, but still, that was the only fish I've ever had turn around and come and attack the boat. So I'll get in the water with a billfish. I won't get in the water with a swordfish because they're mean. They can hurt you. And they get really big. You know, they're worldwide. There's only one species of swordfish, and he lives worldwide. He even goes up into cold water. He lives at 2,000 feet most of the time, you know, in deep, deep water, so he can stay real cold. And because of that, he even has heaters in his brain and his eyeballs. So
heaters?
Yeah, his blood circulates really, really hard around his eyeballs and his brain, and that allows him to see better in the dark. He's got huge eyeballs as big as a baseball.
Right.
And so he can see in the dark. And that's where he does most of his business, is way down there in the deep dark. So during the daytime, all of them are usually down there on the bottom. They're down there in the daytime. And at night, there's this huge migration called the benthic migration, and it happens every night. All the stuff from below comes rising up. And that's when the swordfish come up at night too. That's when we catch them in the shallow from 100 feet down to 400 feet.
Right.
Is there at nighttime.
Yeah.
In the daytime, we're always down deep on the bottom. And you're going to be using big gear, you know, but not only because the fish are big and they fight hard, but because you're fishing with a lot of line.
Right.
Especially if you're fishing in the day.
Right.
You're fishing in the dark. You usually start in Texas. You're going to start in 1,500. You know, 1,600 feet of water, and you're gonna have to go 85 miles to get that.
Ooh.
Yeah, they have a place called the Hilltops, and I talked to a fella named Jeff Wilson, and he was the captain of the Booby Hatch for a long time, you know, with Brett Holden, and they've caught tons of swordfish out there. He caught 171.
No way.
Yeah, in 1 year. Yeah, and caught 21 in one day. You know, and that's really good there because there, like I said, there's no current. They can get right over the structure, get right over the top of the fish, and there's a ton of them there.
Nice. So how are we going to catch them when we find them, Dave? Or
Well,
if we get out there?
You're going to use a wind-on leader. They use really long leaders, and that's mainly because that fish will, you know, get tangled up in it a lot. You hear a lot of times that a swordfish has a soft mouth. Their mouth isn't really that soft. They catch them on long lines, for goodness sake, you know, with a big circle hook. So they can come up and they can pull as hard as they want on that thing, and they're not coming off. So Jeff likes to use a lot of drag, you know, 20 pounds of drag when he gets the bite. He's going to use a squid. In Texas, they use a squid because that's what they eat 90%.
This is not a circle hook.
No, that's not. And they use a J hook for the swordfish. Well, they like to, if they swallow it all the way down, they're going to catch that fish. You know, you get it really deep, and they don't want to mess around with I wouldn't mind using a circle hook. What this will be is they'll have an 8-pound. You're fishing in that daytime. When you're fishing, you'll have an 8-pound weight, hang a sash weight or a big piece of rebar, a number 11 rebar that weighs about 8, you know, or 6 to 8 pounds, and they'll have that hanging on the hook. You'll have a squid. You know, the whole squid, and then the hook will be just sticking out of the skirt of the squid, and you'll have that big rebar hanging right there, and it's on a little hook, so that when you get all the way to the bottom, you give it a jerk, and that weight will fall off. But way up here, by your wind on, about 50 feet or 60 feet away, you'll have, right after your wind on goes to your braid, you'll put on a 3-pound. He puts on a 3-pound controlling weight, and what the controlling weight does is once you get it all the way down there and you knock off that big weight, this thing, when that fish eats, this weight will pull down. And when he's feeling that thing pulling down, he's going to want to go up. So that's why they put that weight up in the front.
Tricky business.
It's right. We want him to feel that pull from the bottom, and he's going to resist and go up. And we want him, that's right. And then we can crank all that line, 1,600 feet of line, maybe even more, up to 2,000 feet of line. You're going to be cranking, trying to get all that line. Hopefully he's going to come rocketing to the surface like that one in Venezuela did. We're using a big octopus and a plastic bag full of rocks.
Whoa.
As our weight hanging on the hook. In 1,600 feet of water, we got the bite in 30 seconds. And but soak it for an hour. Go to the hilltops and go do that one day. Anybody can catch one of these great big swordfish, and they're really good to eat. Really good to eat. Just be careful with them when you get them to the boat.
Good info, Dave. Thank you so much. All right, Bree.